Welcome back everybody to Golden Gulch. This is probably going to be the most monumental episode in this whole series, and the reason for that is because this is going to be the last time-lapse video of this series. So Golden Gulch is going to be 100% completely finished after this episode. And we're going to talk about the future of this park in a couple of minutes time, but I do have a couple of other things to say. First off, what we're going to be doing in this episode to completely finish this is the gondola stations, both the top and the bottom, even though I'm going to cheat just a little bit and copy and paste them, and then move just a tiny bit of walls around to make sure it fits. And we're also going to be doing the bobsled station, the coaster station, and then also the queue, a little bit of the queue. We're going to do a little cover there. So that's all to come in this episode of Golden Gulch, and it's episode 24, so that means that I did hit my goal. By 25, we're going to be doing the live stream, but before that, we also are going to be putting out the bobsled coaster final video, so that's going to include the POV and the name, which you guys can get your final suggestions if you haven't suggested a name for the bobsled coaster. That'll be in next week on Saturday, as I usually try and upload all my videos on a Saturday. So then after that, we'll have so basically today we're dropping this one, and then next Saturday we'll have the bobsled coaster out, and then the Saturday after that, which would be March 7th, that one is going to be our live stream day. And basically in that, we are going to be going through the whole park with guests in here. We're going to have all the shops open, all the rides open. We're going to see basically how this park functions and how the frame rate will be doing, because when I first came in to do this, the frame rate wasn't all that good. I mean, it still is, it's handling really well, and it's not like one of those mega parks that are not doing like are going like 2 FPS, but it's getting a little bit harder to play it. So that's always a bonus, I guess, because that means that I put in a lot of work, but it's also a negative side because it's also going to be just a tad bit slower, and it does take a long time to load up this park. But anyway, in terms of the live stream, I'm planning around 2 or 3 o'clock Eastern time on that Saturday, the March 7th. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. So that's all to come in the next couple of weeks for Golden Gulch, and then that means that we'll be done with this park. Now, you may be wondering what is going to happen after Golden Gulch. Like, are we doing another park? What's going to be going on here? And I will say we are going to do another park, and a little bit of the details will be revealed in the live stream that we'll be doing. Near the end, we'll probably talk about the next park, and I'm not going to give away too much about it. I will say that it's going to be a studios park. That is the basic definition, I guess. The little bit that I'm gonna tell you guys, and then I'll go into detail in the live stream about some of the themes that we're gonna be going into and all that stuff as well. So that's kind of the idea, the plan for after Golden Gulch, and of course we'll be doing Parkitect and a little bit of Planet Zoo. It's kind of fallen off the channel, I know, but I'll be doing it once in a while as well. And then we'll be doing like some other stuff as well, hopefully. So that's the plan here. Now we are done with the gondola rides pretty much. We've done both the top and the bottom, even though I know I said that I kind of cheated and copied and pasted them, but I wanted them to look pretty similar. Now if you caught the architectural style that I used for them, basically the walls that I used are one of the World's Fair walls, and that's because I wanted to kind of break up the architecture. I've been using a lot of wood, like I've used every type of wood, I think, in this park, and I have been using a little bit of, I try and do different architecture every time, like I do a different area and all that, and I was able to do that with the Mexican area, but the first area and the third area, the village and our little outback area, it was kind of hard to do that because it makes sense for the buildings to be wooden. So I kind of had to go with that. Now, this area, like the gondola ride, I figured I can do a little bit different and get away with it. And I actually like how it turns out because it brings a little bit of color variation and also texture variation, which is always nice there. Now, for the station and the little queue cover that we're going to do, those are going to go back to our old wooden ways. That's just going to be the normal stuff, and it kind of makes sense, so I'll explain it just a little later. But some other things that we're going to be doing is like filling in this whole walkway to get up here. And again, as I said a little bit earlier, maybe in the last episode or the episode before that, one of my biggest fears for this area was to have people not coming up here to ride this coaster. Since I don't know if you just caught it there, but I opened the menu and the stats were horrific. So I don't think it'll be able to draw in as many guests as I want it to. So the way I'm going to solve this is basically putting a vista point on a path up here, and hopefully that will draw people up. And then I might even have to put in some like a claw machine or something up here just to make sure that people will come up here. I don't know if they will or not. Hopefully they do, because this area would have been for nothing. And I did go through a lot of difficult building, especially on this queue cover that we'll be doing. That was probably one of the hardest buildings that I've ever made in Planet Coaster. But now we are actually moving on to the station. Now this station is huge, and the only reason for that is because it's a 2-story, well actually you could say it's 3 stories, because the queue had to go extra deep because of all that like clearance area for the bobsled coaster station and all that. It made it so that the padding had to be so low. So basically, it goes from the top of the bobsled, you have those pitched roofs that we'll be putting on later, all the way to the bottom part where the queue is, and then all the way underneath that as well. So it's a really tall building, and it really wasn't that hard to make. I just had to make sure that the flooring was in, because the bobsled coaster does go under this building, and I wanted to make sure that people on the bobsled coaster couldn't really look up and tell what was going on in the queue and all that, and people couldn't look down. And that'd also be a big safety risk as well, because people could jump like over to be like, hey, I'm on the track, look at me, and that could be really dangerous for the park and people as well. And that's just kind of more the realistic side, which I might be trying to tackle in on the next park as well. And I need to stop talking about the next park, because I said I wouldn't reveal anything about it, so I'm going to try and keep true to that. But now, we're still working on this building. It's just going to be, it's actually going to take a really long time to get through this building, and especially the next building as well. They both were very, very difficult to make. This one, not so much, but the next one, you'll see, it's just because the grid is super small, and trying to fit all those pieces around the building and the track and all that, it just got really crazy. But the hardest part was the roofing for that queue. But we'll get there eventually. But right now, we're just going to concentrate on this. We're going to do a lot of high-level detailing as well. That's going to be like windows and wooden boards and all that. Nothing that's like essential, but I think it makes it look a lot better. And this roofing is also a little bit different than I normally do. I'm putting in this little middle section, and also some pitched roofs on the side of those as well, just to kind of break up the little generic pitched roof area and just kind of make a little bit more livelihood to it. Now, as I said earlier, this is the wooden walls again, and I've used them, and also the iron roofing. I've used these two things probably in every area of this park almost all the time, and the reason for that is because it fits this theme so well. The wooden walls, they look so Western themed, and the iron kind of really goes well with it. So it's really hard to not use it, because it just looks so good in this theme. Now, I will say, like the Mexican area, it was kind of easy to get away from this, just because the Mexican area, it doesn't really use traditional Western architecture. They have their own type of architecture. And then also, like the village, you could say that they're a little bit more dependent on what the looks are, like the motel, I would say. Even though the motel was made out of this wood, like, or maybe the bank needed to be a little bit more solid, so we used like concrete instead, and that kind of just brings in a little bit of realism as well. So that's just, and also a way to break up the textures as well, so that's why we use those. But the biggest piece that we needed for this park was this wall here and this roof, and I tried to break it up as much as I could, so that's why I did something different for the gondola ride. I used different walls and a different roof. But now we are going to be doing some fine detailing, and that's going to be including some plank work, and then we'll be moving on to the queue cover part, which would be the very hard part of this. So while we're doing that, we're going to be sending you to a little music session. We haven't done one of those in a good while, so I say, why don't we do it now? Alright, so I am back, and basically in the time that I was gone, we were able to complete the whole bobsled coaster station, and we actually started the process of creating this queue cover that goes over the bobsled coaster track. So a good amount has gone on, but not a lot of progress has been made. We've only put down the walls. We're doing the flooring right now, and the only reason why I'm doing the flooring is to make it look a little bit realistic, and that's really just because the stairs, they don't fit all the way. They're not like 4 meter width. They're only 3 meter, I think. So they don't fit the whole walls, I guess. So if they could look over the railing and see and that there's no ground there, it just wouldn't look right. And especially to me, it wouldn't look right since I know it would be like that. And then if you're on the roller coaster underneath, you could look up and see that there's no flooring, and that wouldn't look right either. So we're doing all of that, and this building was super hard to build, as I keep saying in this episode, and you're gonna see a lot of that when we start doing the roofing for it. And then I just kind of went with it near the end. It was getting a little bit crazy and repetitive, I would say. So eventually I just kind of dealt with it and went. So we're doing still the walls here. I'm trying to lay out how I want the roofs to look, and you can see that I'm starting to think about them right now. But a second ago, you might have saw that I was staring at the entrance where the bobsled coaster was entering this area from the lift hill, and basically that area, it's a little off center. So one side of the bobsled coaster, one side, I think it's the exit side for the queue, it goes and it kind of intrudes the bobsled's railing, while the other side doesn't, and it just doesn't look right. But I kind of, as I said, just kind of had to go with it. And this is the roofing that I've been talking about. I had to use the off-the-grid roofing because of how difficult it was to use the grid roofing, and I didn't really show that too much, but it did happen. The only part that I really used the on-the-grid roofing was for that middle section going over the bobsled coaster. Actually, I didn't use that. I used the movable roofs as well. So it's pretty much all custom for the roofing, just trying to get it to fit in all the right spaces. So now we are trying to finish up, make the final push for this whole park, which is super exciting, and we're getting there. We're almost, actually about a minute out for time lapse, and then we'll do a little bit of cinematics, and we'll be done. So you can see here's just the roofing job. But I'm just going to reiterate a couple of things that I said earlier in the episode. First, this is the last episode, so we'll be doing the time lapse, and we'll have the final video very soon. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. If you guys have any final suggestions for the name of this bobsled coaster, make sure to let me know in the comments. I always do appreciate name suggestions. They really do help out. And then also, we are going to be doing another park, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And in the live stream, we will be talking about it. I will release a lot of details about that, the theming areas, and all of that is to come. Now, we are finally making the end of this park. Really exciting moments here, but you can see that we're trying just to get this done. I'm not really caring too much, I would say, but I've reiterated that enough. And I also have the Archer dude in there. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Gulch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time.